Hey, fellow alcoholics and addicts, and moms and dads, and sisters and brothers, and anybody that's watching. I'd like to thank everybody for their support. Hit the like button or whatever. What's that other button? Subscribe or whatever. Yesterday we talked about step 5, and we talked about step 5 that I was kind of delusional going into step 5 because in step 4 I didn't do it right. Like in AA, they say you can't do anything wrong. You just do it. Just get it done and do it. You can't do it wrong. So my sponsor said that to me. He says, just get it done. There's no wrong way of doing it, So I did it out, and I took it to my sponsor. He looked at it. He goes, you did this all wrong, And but I stayed sober because of the willingness, and I did it over again. And I'm better with numbers. But when it comes to the tech stuff, no, I'm an engineer. So I was delusional at step 5. So then I gained humility, like I said. And step 5 is just a step we did because of we wanted to get straight. Step 4, we wanted our sponsor to put everything in order. And we did step 4 right after we did step 3 because step 3 was based on a decision that we made between 1 and 2. Insanity or death or life on a spiritual basis. There's no third option. So, of course, in 3, if you have humility and know enough about the disease and your choices, you're going to pick door number 2. Who wants to die of alcoholism? So that's humility we talked about. So it says, turning our will and our life over to the care of God means turning our thinking and our actions over to the will of God. Okay? And so in the big book, right, it talks about 2 little prayers. This is probably the most important steps. We do it again in 10 and 11, but probably the most 2 important steps. It says, and in the 12 and 12 it says it's the step that separates the men from the boys, because we've grown so much spiritually that we can be called a man now if we did the first 5 steps correctly. But we got to make sure we did it correctly. So step 5 ends like this. If our works is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? Okay, did we leave anything out? Did we leave any secrets out? Or did we leave it, like the stuff we leave out is usually stuff that'll get us drunk, right? So anyway, there's 2 small paragraphs in here on 6 and 7. The first one is just to be willing. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable? Can He now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing. So step 6 is just willing. And the willingness will come from the first 5 steps. If you do it properly, who would want to hold on to this stuff that caused your drinking and destructive drinking and failure at life? Nobody wants to hold on to that, So I'm very willing because of the first 5 steps. I could never start off at step 6. And step 7 says, when ready, so when we're really willing, we say something like this: my Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Maybe we have character defects that help newcomers. I don't know. Grant me strength as I go from here to do your bidding. Amen. It's the first amen in the book. We have then completed step 7. So it's 2 small paragraphs, probably the most important steps in the whole program. But why is it so small? Why is there only half a page on it? It's something like this. If you were planting potatoes, and the 2 most important tools you would need would be a rake and a shovel. Let's say you ever get the dirt there, the pieces of potatoes are there. So you get down to Home Depot and you buy a rake and a shovel. But there's no directions on it. You go, there's no directions. You're just supposed to know how to use a rake and shovel. And it's the same thing with 6 and 7. You're just supposed to be willing, and you're supposed to know how to ask God to remove, sincerely remove. You can't ask Him for the $29.99 special. You got to look at the stuff in 4 and 5, and when it pops up, we're just going to ask God sincerely to remove it because of the willingness that we got from the first 5 steps. Now, in step 7 in the 12 and 12, a much bigger read, it says, the chief activator of our defects has been self-centered fear, primarily fear that we would lose something we already possessed or would fail to get something we demand it. Living upon a basis of unsatisfied demands, we were in a state of continual disturbance and frustration. And sooner or later, we're going to drink. We're going to be restless, irritable, and discontent. So the chief activator of our defects, which is our instincts gone astray, is self-centered fear. Primarily fear we're going to lose something we already possess, or we're not going to get something we demand. And what can we possess and demand? It has to do with sex, social, or security, or emotional security. There's only three things that make up self. Sex, social, security, and then, 2B is emotional security. So, steps 6 and 7 are real important, but the willingness comes from the first 5 steps. And then step 7, you remember when you did your 4th and 5th step, here we go again. This don't fit no more. This don't fit no more. This is going to get me drunk. I got to stop with the 7 deadly sins. I got to stop with the lust and the lying and the pride and the envy. I got to ask God to remove that stuff. We're really not gaining anything in A. We're just removing the stuff that's blocking us from Him. So that's all on 6 and 7, Love all you guys. Thank you guys for donating and everything. And we'll look at 8 and 9 tomorrow.